Classification of tissues. Chapter 6. Classification of tissues. Tissues and tissue types. Tissues are group of cells similar in structure and function. Tissues are organized into organs. Histology equals study of tissues. The four tissue types are epithelial, connective, muscular, nervous. Functions of epithelium: physical protection, secretion, sensory perception, absorption, filtration, excretion. Epithelial tissue includes glands and epithelium glands are secretory. Avascular, polarity, regeneration, cellularity. Supported by connective tissue. Attached to a basement membrane. Basement membrane amorphous substance. Divided in two layers. Lamina lucida, basal. Secreted by the epithelium. Lamina densa, reticular. Secreted by the connective tissue. Specializations of epithelium: ciliated, microvilli, stereocilia, flagella. Classification of epithelia. Number of cell layers: simple, stratified. Shape of apical surface cells: squamous, cuboidal, columnar. Stratified squamous with keratin. Cuboidal epithelia. Simple cuboidal EPT. Cuboidal epithelia. Figure 4.4b. Transitional epithelium. Figure 4.4c. Transitional EPT. Columnar epithelia. Figure 4.5a. Simple columnar EPT. Columnar epithelia. Figure 4.5b. Columnar epithelia. Figure 4.5c. Glandular epithelia. Epithelium that secretes substances. Exocrine glands secrete through ducts onto the surface of the gland. Endocrine glands release hormones into surrounding fluid. Ductless glands. Goblet cells. Part 2. Connective tissues. Connective tissue functions and classification. Protects. Supports. Bind tissues together. Classification. Embryonic. Mesenchyme. Loose connective tissue, mucus. Adult. A classification of adult connective tissues. Connective tissues characteristics. No free surface. Vascular. Scanty in tendons. Except cartilage. Supports the body. Maintain body form. Components of the connective tissue. 1 extracellular matrix. Ground substance. Amorphous. Binds cells to fibers. Colorless. Homogeneous. Liquid, semi-solid, gel-like, or hard. Matrix fibers. Collagen, white, most abundant. Brings flexibility and strength to the tissue. Thicker one. Elastic, yellow. Brings elasticity to the tissues. Can stretch and recoil. Fibers. Reticular. Thinnest one. Found in smooth muscle and framework of the organs. Brings flexibility to organs that need changes in volume. Reticular tissue. Dense irregular with collagen, elastic and reticular fibers. Components of the connective tissue. 2. Cells. Fibroblast. Most abundant. Synthesis of fibers and ground substance. Macrophage. Phagocytic capacity. Components of the connective tissue. Adipocytes. Closely packed. Signet ring cell. Nucleus eccentric and flat. Mesenchymal cells. Mast cells. Releases histamine. Responsible for allergic reactions. Lymphocytes, etc. The cells and fibers of connective tissue proper. Connective tissue proper. Classified as loose or dense. Loose. Areolar tissue. Adipose tissue. Reticular tissue. Rich blood supply, connective tissue proper. Dense. Dense regular. Dense irregular. Elastic. Poor blood supply. Connective tissue in embryos. Areolar tissue. Adipose and dense irregular tissues. Blood vessels showing simple squamous EPT. Reticular connective tissue. Dense connective tissues. Figure 4.12a. Dense connective tissues. Figure 4.12b. Dense connective tissues. Figure 4.12c. Dense elastic. Dense regular tissue. Dense irregular with collagen fibers. Bone, or osseous tissue has osteocytes and osteoblasts lacuna. Little ground substance. Dense mineralized matrix. Richly vascularized. Bone. Part 3. Supporting connective tissues, cartilage. Cells called chondrocytes or chondroblasts. Cells found in lacunae. Firm matrix. Avascular. 3 types, hyaline, elastic, fibrocartilage. Types of cartilage. Hyaline cartilage. Types of cartilage. Elastic cartilage. Types of cartilage. Fibrocartilage. Fluid connective tissues. Blood. Red blood cells, white blood cells and platelets. Plasma is the fluid matrix. Formed elements of the blood. Muscle tissues specialized for contraction. 3 types. Skeletal, cardiac. Smooth. Skeletal muscle cells are multinucleate, long, cylindrical. Presence of striation. Voluntary muscle, muscle tissue, skeletal. Skeletal muscle. Cardiac muscle cells, long, 1 or 2 nucleus branching cells. Intercalated discs. Presence of striation. Involuntary muscle, muscle tissue, cardiac. Cardiac muscle. Smooth muscle tissue cells fusiform 1 central nucleus non-striated. Involuntary muscle. Forms the wall of hollow organs, muscle tissue, smooth. Smooth muscle. Use spaghetti for longitudinal x transverse cut. Nervous tissue. Neural tissue cells. Neurons transmits impulses. No intercellular matrix. Neuroglia. Support, protects and insulates the nervous tissue. Greater number. Neural tissue location. Brain. Spinal cord. Nerves.